replete with purest joys. My ears shall be unsealed, and I shall hear. From the Mute's Lament, John Carlin, deaf poet. Hello to all, and welcome to the Ear-Wicker podcast. Follow along with our host, Vince Corkery, as he discusses a broad range of musical topics, with interviews of top players, club owners, producers, and engineers that make it all happen. Your virtual backstage pass. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast, and of course, it's free.
If you ever ran away from me, I like to think that I would come and chase you home. And if somehow you just disappear, it's only right that I should.
Let her rip.
All right. Welcome all. Welcome all to the Ear-Wicker podcast. And today we have a very, very unique guest and maybe one of the most original artists on the planet, Bill Christman.
I thought you were going to say in St. Louis.
Oh, no.
Or maybe in U City.
Oh, no. That's
All right. Well, thanks, Vince, for that completely unqualified.
Oh, no.
Okay, so thank you. Okay,
I'll just say if people, know what they're looking at, they probably don't know you did it.
Okay.
And so it's amazing stuff. So really appreciate it.
It's one of those things you get born with what you got. In other words, it's a gift. So at any rate, and when I was in kindergarten, I was like an art star, rock star in kindergarten.
Really? Oh.
Because all the kids would do finger painting. Like where you just give you some paint, you smear it all over a piece of paper with your finger, and it turns to shit immediately. Are you allowed to say shit? Okay.
This is a free,
Okay.
talk freely, please.
Okay, so, and I did this drawing of a witch very early on. They just gave me some. I said, "Can I draw a witch?" So I did this drawing of a witch, and it was really like for a 5-year-old kid. She had warts with hair coming out of the warts, and real scraggly. And she had teeth that were all broken and gnarled.
Kindergarten?
Yeah, and I would get into the small details like hair coming out of a wart.
Wow.
And so all of a sudden I had a lot of. I did it with I don't know. I think it was paint actually, but at any rate, so they go, holy shit, you stop finger painting, you're really, so I became. They took me around to the first and second grade rooms with this drawing of the witch, and I thought, man, I'm really I'm hot shit.
Yeah.
And that warped me. I peaked too soon.
Oh.
My greatest celebrity and fame was in kindergarten, but I got the bug, and I never enjoyed anything else but making art. And then I suppose you probably had a musical experience.
But
early on.
Sort of early, but not that early. I mean, I like to sing, that sort of thing. But instruments came around 10 or 12 years old. But that's well, speaking of music, what you are the proprietor of Joe's Cafe,
right? Which
has been around for 15, 20?
No, 21 years.
21 years.
2003.
Okay. And it's probably maybe for musicians, I think it's their favorite place to play. So, and there's a reason for it, I think.
Yeah.
But
what do you think that reason is?
The
people listen.
Well, that's what. Yeah, that's a big reason. And you taught them how to listen. Really, I mean, it's like, hey, don't talk.
Right.
You're here for
leave,
the music.
Or leave.
Leave. Yeah. And I think there's the room itself has a great sound, and has some sort of spiritual quality to the room, in my opinion. So
that room was from the late '60s. It was a storefront gospel type church. It was called Martin's Temple of God in Christ, and they had a live. I don't know what you call it, not live. I mean, they had a loud electric band. They had an upright piano that was supposed to be remarkable, and they had electric guitars, electric bass, drums, and the minister was Martin, and his mother lived upstairs. And it's part of this church movement called Kojic.
Oh, yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah. And it's kind of sort of a fundamentalist.
Yeah, I think it's from the West Coast, basically. Yeah.
And they had this, this was back when the neighborhood, St. Louis in the late 60s, we thought we were going to have race riots after Martin Luther King.
Right.
A lot of big cities did. We didn't. But so in the Central West End, people just thought, hey, we got to get out of here, and it emptied out. And so my neighborhood, or where Joe's is, Skinkard of Oliver,
Yep.
became some blocks 100% black. A certain group of people stayed in the neighborhood and made a commitment to not running out of fear, and that's why that neighborhood, had the quality that it did. But at any rate, so I'm trying to think how many years that is, from 68 until 80, which is when I bought it.
20 years.
20 years. It had this music being played there every Saturday night. I think their services were on Saturday night. And the old stage was the choir loft. That's where they had a choir. And then the band would be out in there. And the people who lived there at that time said, man, there was some really good music coming out of that church. Whoa. Just hardcore gospel.
Yeah, wow.
So that is in the walls, that sort of.
Yeah. I mean, you can feel it.
Right.
That's why that one reason that room is special. But
I think so.
yeah. And why did you start Joe's Cafe?
By accident, really. I'd become friends with Ann Haubrick, a local. She used to have a show on KDHX called Literature for the Halibut.
Oh yeah, sure.
And they turned it into a podcast, whatever the fuck
okay.
a podcast is.
we're
This is
on
one of them.
Right here.
And her boyfriend was Art Dwyer, another bass player.
Sure, yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so I went to see. She goes, Art's gonna play down at this place on Union. It's the Senate or Congress Hotel. I think it was called Turvey's on the Green.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Little restaurant. And she said it was a Thursday night. She said, you want to come down and meet me and have a drink and listen to Art? And I think John Mondine and Bob Kamoski.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It was just the three of them. And I go down there, it was a very beautiful fall evening. And there's about 10 people in the audience, And so they were really just playing for their own enjoyment. And what was interesting to me was they were mostly playing Latin-tinged music.
Okay.
I think they were really rehearsing. Oh. And they kind of said, let's play some Latin stuff. So I kind of go, I thought these guys played blues. And she goes, oh, no, they just do whatever they want. They're just. Oh. So, and I didn't really know Art all that well. And I said, Art, I bet you if I could have you guys play next Thursday at my art studio sign shop, I bet you I could get you 30 or 40 people, instead of the 10. And I think we charged $3 at that time. And so he says, well, sure, we'll do it. We'll give it a whirl. And they came and they played actually outside the door in the side yard. Oh. And another guy who showed up was the trumpet, John. He's a heating and cooling guy. John.
Oh, yeah, you mean trombone player.
Trombone, I'm sorry.
John Wolfe.
John Wolfe showed up.
Yeah.
And then out of the crowd, a woman came up. This is also, I think, special, at least, is that this woman comes up out of the audience wearing like an old trench coat, London fog type trench coat. And she goes, could I sing a couple of songs with you? He said, sure. And so she did, I think, Summertime, the Porgy and Bess song, and a Patsy Cline song.
Oh, Walking After Midnight or something?
Yeah. And then she just sang those two songs and walked away, and no one ever saw her again, and no one knew who she was. And so, wow, that one was really good, And so, at any rate, it just seemed like it was off to a good start. And then we did it again for like 2 more weeks. And Art said, he goes, if we keep showing up here every Thursday, we're going to burn out the audience. You got to get. And he goes, Tom Hall, Charlie Pfeffer, and those guys.
Okay.
Give them a call.
Oh, wow.
So then I said, next time I had Charlie Pfeffer come. Next time I had. So the Soulard Blues Band ultimately became kind of like 4 times a year.
Okay.
Like, and I probably knew about, I'd say maybe a dozen or 15 other musicians, some of whom you've been part of. And so that's the way it was. And I guess I never really started out with an idea of having a music club. It just kind of evolved.
Okay.
From that,
so organically, sort of. Oh, that's cool. Or what's the experience you're hoping the musicians having, and even the audience? I mean, what?
Well, my love for music is, like my love for art. It's just sort of, it's very important. And I guess the one thing, as I started making it change from like an art studio sign shop into a thing with, more and more focus for music, including balconies and
Yeah, right.
a new stage, that sort of thing, and good lighting. The lighting, the lighting is almost like almost like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's got smoke machines. It's got a bubble machine, and that's all because of Jim Kiske.
Oh, cool.
So Jim Kiske, I didn't know, and in fact, this is for local consumption. Jim Kiske went to CBC High School, and I went to St. Louis U High, so I technically hate his guts.
Oh,
As I was brainwashed into hating CBC
aha.
from the age of 14 to 18,
Of
but I
course.
can't get over it. So
Well, smart guys went to SLU.
all right, we thought we were better than everybody until we found out we weren't. But I always used to say, well, if we're so great, why don't we be more humble? But that's another, that's a different topic. So, at any rate, the one thing that really was important to me was that when you go to a bar and you hear a great band and the motherfuckers are talking over the music and you can't hear the band, you have to almost leave. There's no way to win.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, well, this is my place. I can make the rules here, and I don't want people talking. You can talk between songs. And if your pants are on fire, you could, you can say, oh, I'm sorry, emergency use.
Right.
But at any rate, I once threw my own younger sister, Ann, out of Joe's Cafe for talking too much, and she wouldn't stop.
Wow.
And I always would give the people their money back. I'd say, I'm sorry, this isn't the right place for you. Here's your money back. Go somewhere else.
Well, that's a true lover right there.
Well, the thing is, I didn't mind being a prick about it because I wanted to hear the music myself. And if people were going to diminish my enjoyment of the music, I took it very personally.
Wow, yeah.
Maybe that's not a good thing, but I did.
Well,
So that's how I managed to get it to be and the people who come appreciate that.
I think they know that too.
Yeah. Right. And so,
But then you get the real people that want to listen.
right.
So
And that's what musicians deserve.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Wow. Well, what do you think? Is there a connection or an intersection between your art and the music?
That's a good question. I don't ever think about that, so I don't really I usually have music playing while I'm working on art. It kind of not real conscious. Like, I don't say, well, today I'm going to work on something like this, and the right music would be that. I have an obsession with Bob Dylan's career, and so he always has great musicians, and he's a great poet.
Yes. Do you have a favorite time period for Dylan?
That's not. And I couldn't really say because I think lately I've been listening to some of his bootleg stuff, and there's this one bootleg called Telltale Signs.
Yes.
And there's stuff on there that is so incredibly poignant and almost, I feel, personal. It's almost like, hey, that song could actually be applying to my life, which you first think, well, that's the beginning of madness. You start thinking, somebody's writing songs for you. But
that means it's communicating. To
Right.
you, right.
Yeah.
So
And that's the other thing. I once was I'm going off on the Bob Dylan tangent here, but
that's good. Yeah.
I used to have all these different friends, 7 in total, and whenever we'd get together, we would talk about Bob Dylan, and I'd go, and none of them knew each other, so I thought, why don't we all get together, because we all like Bob Dylan. So we kind of formed a goofy club of middle-aged dorks, in our 40s.
Great.
But I found out that everybody got something completely different from Bob Dylan. And I realized, well, that's the genius, because everyone hears Bob Dylan as if he's speaking to them, and they get a different, and even more so as his songs have become more poetic, I think. A song like Masters of War is not open-ended. It's very specific.
Yeah.
Then I remember another song that really knocked me out was he wrote with Sam Shepard, called Brownsville Girl. I don't know if you ever heard that one.
I don't know.
It's like 17 minutes long or 14 minutes long. Brownsville Girl with your Brownsville curl. And there's an old folk song that is Danville Girl, but it's sort of an updated version. And he co-wrote the lyrics with Sam Shepard, the playwright. And so at one point in the song, it's a great song if you have a chance to hear it. And he does something that's completely bizarre for a songwriter. He breaks the fourth wall. You know, when they talk about an actor, like all of a sudden turning out to the audience and
acknowledges.
Yeah, right, that he's in a movie. You know.
Yeah.
So at one line or one point in the song, Dylan goes, and if there's an original line out there, I could sure use it right now. It's like he didn't have the line, so he breaks the fourth wall. So
cool. Yeah, that's
that guy just he is gifted. You know?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So and the one song right now that is I'm actually can listen to over and over again is "The Girl from the Red River Shore."
I know that one.
Yeah.
Mike O'Neill actually, he's a big Dylan fan too, and he's a friend of yours.
Yeah.
But he turned me on to that one.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite performer at Joe's or a favorite performance or?
You know, I'll tell you something. God.
I know there's a lot of music there, so I'm,
Yeah.
I didn't want to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, and also, I want to admit to one failure. Is I never, I didn't get jazz when I was young, and it was kind of intimidating. I always thought people who like jazz have like horn rimmed glasses and, tweed jackets with patches, and they smoke a pipe. So
sophisticated.
Yeah,
huh?
I was what do you call it? Defensive, intimidated.
Okay.
But I finally learned to love jazz. But I never was able to really connect with the jazz community in St. Louis. But which I want to give credit to young John Parker, who seemingly brought a lot of good jazz players to Joe's. And I was not able to do that. But one time, there's a guy from Ireland, Paddy Keenan, who plays the Uilleann pipes and whistles and other things. And one time he played with Willem van Humbrick.
Oh, yeah, sure, right? Willem, yeah.
And I'm trying to think, Dave Black.
Oh, yeah.
So these guys, are pure musicians to me.
Yeah.
And they just started playing stuff that I think they meandered off of whatever, probably a traditional thing. But I think they also played Summertime.
Oh.
For some reason, that song, Summertime and the Living is Easy, has been interpreted by all different kinds of musicians. And then jazz musicians will then just take off on it.
Oh, okay.
And I think I kind of thought, and one night you and your buddy, Hudson.
Oh, Hudson, yeah.
And John.
Yeah, John Ferber.
I saw you guys kind of doing some freewheeled improvisation. And all of a sudden I go, they're going jazzy.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to appreciate jazz more than I ever did.
Oh, okay.
But I would say this, the fact that Paddy Keenan, he plays in Africa quite a bit.
Oh.
And he has a big following in Zimbabwe.
Wow.
And I don't think that completely adds up either.
Oh.
But I don't know that much about it. But so, like a guy like him is what I call a world musician.
Yes.
It's world music.
Yeah.
And that's where, it's really spiritual. It's just something you cannot quite explain.
Right.
It's beyond the
you sort of have to experience it.
Right. So, that was a very good question. And
but there's been a lot of music there.
Yeah.
Do you have a worst?
Worst. Oh, but I can't.
Oh.
I don't want to.
Well,
I can be very vague about it.
Okay. Well,
there was once an all-girl jug band in St. Louis, and I knew them. I knew a couple of the gals in it, and they talked me into letting them play there 3 times.
Whoa.
And they said, "Oh, we love you, Bill. We love Joe's." They buttered me up, and of course I fell for it. But once they started playing, it was a jug band. There's 7 of them in it. Washboards.
Okay.
Yeah. Just,
like a street band.
Street band, yeah. And they just didn't have it. I mean, they weren't particularly, and no one else would ever hire them.
Oh.
And I realized after the third time that I had to have like 4 stiff drinks before I could enjoy them.
Oh,
And, so I finally said, you know what, your band is a little rough, you know. And I said, I can't keep hiring you.
oh, okay. Yeah.
And I mean, if you've ever had to give someone a bad review,
Yeah.
and you see this look come over their face like you've just, killed their dog, it's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had another thing where I would always want to listen to a band before I would ever. So I'd got to hear them somewhere, and there was another duo that was a guy who just played bass, and he had a young woman who played a flute, and I had them come in like on a Saturday and just play, and I just did not see how this could translate to an audience. You know? And I had to say, I'm sorry, I just don't see that this is going to be the right place for you. I said, I wish you the best. And I don't really, like, that's a very unpleasant.
It's hard to do
It
that
is,
stuff. And because you feel for them.
Sure.
But it's your not only your business, but it's your
Right.
Your play area.
Right,
So speaking of Joe's, I know there's things you're going through now, and do you see what's the future for Joe's?
I have to say the original idea for Joe's was this friend of mine, Joe Willette, who was my best friend in grade school, and we were always building clubhouses and building forts, and we did all kinds of like goofy shit, that 10-year-old kids do. We decided, well, we've got to learn to smoke, because the older guys, we got to learn to look like tough older guys and shit. So I lived in a part of Clayton that's now got a 30-story building.
Oh.
It's South Beamiston,
Okay.
right near where the Interbelt goes through. And that was the black neighborhood of Clayton until 1959. By that time, they tore down all of the houses, including my house, which was an old farmhouse. And it had a well and a barn in the backyard. It was just the old Clayton. Kind of like most other communities had a black neighborhood like Meacham Park, things like that. Clayton had one. And when Joe and I were in grade school, I remember we were going down Carondelet, and there was this black family leaving, and we said, where are you going? They said, well, our house is going to be torn down. And so being the young opportunists that we were, we said, hey, can we have the key? And they said, sure. And they gave us the key to this little house on Carondelet. And so for a year, we had a house with a key. So we started this club in there called the Smoking Asses, because that was our raison d'etre, was to learn how to smoke and learn the French inhale, blow smoke rings. So
be hipsters.
we
and
were devoted,
beatniks
right? Yeah. So, and that was the beginning of many clubs that we had. So Joe went off, after high school, was in the Navy. We kind of drifted apart, and he ended up coming back to St. Louis and helped me build this thing at City Museum, my thing called Museum of Mirth, Mystery, and Mayhem.
Yes.
And Joe and I had, built forts and shit while we were kids. One time we built a soapbox racer and things like that. And so all of a sudden, here's my old buddy, from fort building days back in my life, and by that time I was in my late 40s. He helps me build that museum,
Whoa.
which was great. And then he also ran it. He was the concession guy who sold the corn dogs.
Oh, okay.
T-shirts and all that stuff. I don't know why. We had this idea to make a little cafe out of my old sign shop, and it was going to be called Joe's Cafe because Joe Willette was going to. And the idea was there would be just soup and sandwiches. Be real simple. And he was going to start off with just tomato soup and grilled cheese. So then Joe got cancer and disappeared, died, left. Shuffled off the mortal coil. And I said, Joe, I'm going to start a cafe, and I'm going to call it Joe's Cafe. He goes, that's great. I said, but, I don't know when I'll find the right. He goes, I'll send you the right person someday. That's what he said.
Whoa. What year was this, you think? You were
1999.
okay.
You can't prove stuff. But so a guy just showed up a couple of days ago, and I think he's the person that Joe might have sent me. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
That's okay.
But He's a poet. Joe was a poet. He's a very handsome, dark-skinned guy. He's from Memphis. Joe was from, actually, I think his family was French-Canadian. I think he was from, there's, the St. Louis thing is a very tight city. Most people always stay here.
Yeah, sure.
But occasionally people come, from other places and stuff like that. So if there is, like this strange spiritual world, Joe might have sent the guy who's going to be the guy who makes the soup and, serves the soup. And it'll become a little neighborhood cafe called Joe's Cafe. And you'll be able to get a bowl of soup and a sandwich. And then at night there will be some wine, just a real simple thing, like one kind of beer, no selection, no 200 beers.
Yeah, right.
And then there'll be a whiskey and there'll be a gin and a vodka, just like no choices, just one. And then people in the neighborhood, it's really like a 12-block neighborhood, Skinker to Bolivar. Can walk there, it's like, it won't be like a club up on Del Mar or a restaurant up on Del, just be a little neighborhood corner tavern.
Like old time.
Old time. Yeah, like South St. Louis.
Yeah.
And so I think the neighborhood would really enjoy that. And I've sensed from talking to people that, if we could go, get a bowl of soup and a sandwich and a drink, meet somebody there at night and have a glass of wine, that would be great. And so I think I'm kind of reverting back like 25 years ago to what Joe Willett and I talked about for Joe's Cafe.
That's cool.
But the music is still, now the city has come in and they said, you've done a lot of things in here that just are not acceptable or legal or safe. They said you can't have people up in these balconies. They're not accessible, by a proper staircase. And, you can't have people climbing ladders, to get up into a balcony, which... This is all predicated on like bad things, like a fire.
Oh, right.
So like they're thinking, Joe's Cafe is a fire and everybody's burned to death because they couldn't get down from the balcony and they could. So I had to make all the doors open out and have panic bars and light up signs that say emergency exit. And if there is a fire, then emergency lights go on. So, and that's all good.
You've done that?
I've done it all.
Whoa.
And the Bros Laz, the Lazarus brothers, did 4 free concerts.
I heard about that.
And they gave me the dough for my legal. I had to hire a high-powered lawyer.
Wow.
I'm hiring people to remake the doors work right.
Okay.
And do some electrical.
Okay.
There's some horrible electrical situation. In other words,
it's not code.
It's not code.
Yeah.
So to get the thing up to code, and Jim Kiske once again is like he's another, I don't know what you call it, almost like a saint to me. He's dealing with the city, during all of these things because I don't get along with bureaucrats, and I'm antagonistic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I like bureaucrats. I love bureaucrats.
Yeah.
I just don't ever want to see them
Okay.
or talk to them.
Yeah.
But Jim Kiske has been a wonderful patron saint. Maybe it should be called, Jimmy Joe's.
Well, that's cool. That's good news.
So the music will come back.
Yeah.
And it'll be the size of the crowd will be reduced. So that's okay.
Yeah.
Because there's.
Well, I remember times when you couldn't even walk in your backyard.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There was a period of excess,
which was really great, but really bad at the same
was,
time.
And I'm lucky that nobody was hurt because it was totally out of control.
Yeah.
And I was shut down during that period wisely by the city.
I do remember a night we were playing there and it got shut down. I don't know if you remember this, but something to do with a pipe bomb.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I had a sculpture called The 7 Dangerous Isms, and one of the isms was called hooliganism.
Uh-huh.
And that was from a pamphlet we had to read in high school called The 7 Dangerous Isms. And it was about socialism, communism, fascism. And it was all like fundamental conservative religious ideas saying like, the world is filled with bad ideology. So I made this parody of that called, and it had like bohemianism, hooliganism, nudism. And in the hooliganism, I had a zip gun.
Oh.
An actual real working zip gun, which I had to consult an older guy who had actually made zip guns. Because I had never done it. And it had a switchblade knife and some brass knuckles and a pipe bomb. So somebody put the pipe bomb in somebody's pickup truck.
Oh, they took it from your.
They took it from the sculpture, which is right inside the door.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden, this guy leaves Joe's and he sees a pipe bomb in the back of his car. He doesn't know it's fake. So he freaks out, calls the police, and they had to clear out the whole neighborhood.
Yes, it was
Like for 3 square blocks, and they bring in the bomb squad. And that was, I mean, I was drunk. You know,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
what my standard operating procedure was, to get drunk every Thursday night. And so all of a sudden, I've forgotten about that
yeah,
night, actually.
yeah. We just happened to be there that night,
And the neighbors were pissed off. You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they couldn't get back into
I
their
know, yeah.
houses and apartments till like 2 a.m. And these detectives, you know, show up and they
Yeah.
go, you know, what who's in charge? And they're like, I am. You know. And the guy goes, you know, you're the guy who made that pipe. I said, it's not a pipe bomb. It's just a prop.
yeah.
It's in a. He goes, oh, you're a smart aleck, aren't you?
Oh.
He goes, you know, and the guy really kind of said, hey, you fucking, you know, I mean, he was really
Whoa,
like,
yeah.
you know, okay, funny boy, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
he was like the cop in Seinfeld, you know, the
Oh,
library.
the librarian. Okay, joke boy.
So I humbled myself down,
Yeah, yeah.
and at any rate, yeah, that was
That was a wild night.
a wild night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, to some extent, I would never want to, because you know, I was young.
Mm.
I would never want to relive any of that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
and of course, the neighborhood
Yeah.
was ready to fucking lynch me.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't blame them.
Right.
So now,
Well, things changed after
Right.
that too.
Yeah.
And probably for the better.
right. And in fact, I think this next version
Yeah.
will be people in my neighborhood, and that neighborhood has weathered a lot of storms, you know, and it's the kind of white flight of St. Louis.
Mm.
That neighborhood didn't do it, you know. I mean, that's a great tribute to those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the idea that there'll be this little neighborhood place to hang out
Yeah. That's great.
is Joe Willette's, you know, that's Joe's Cafe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and I'm really hoping that my youngest son, Kevin, might also,
Oh,
you know,
good.
that might be something he can,
Oh, that would be
you know,
great.
connect
yeah.
with.
Oh, that's cool.
so,
Well,
but
that's good news. I mean, I think people they talk a lot about, you know, from the I'm talking from the people that are on the outside of what's going on.
Yeah.
They're like, what? No more Joes. It's such a special place, really.
I think that everything is going to get ironed out, and I think that the music, I mean, the music thing will come back on a Thursday night kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
And occasionally, like, if somebody comes into town on a Sunday, it could be like a Sunday afternoon show, that kind of thing. But
Will you rent the rooms out?
yeah,
Still, like on a weekend or something.
Yeah, my
Oh,
wife was always in charge if somebody wanted to have a fundraiser. That was what we did a fair amount of. Was like the prison performing arts would put on a thing there, and they'd raise money for their program. I think we did some, you know, honorable charitable support things. My wife put on this fundraiser for Haiti, where she worked as she did this, you know, medical help for Haiti. And I'm trying to think of other things. If somebody wrote a book in our neighborhood and they wanted to have a book signing,
that's cool. Yeah.
then they could have a book signing there.
Yeah.
You know,
It's supporting. You're supporting the
right.
community. Yeah.
that there's an old expression. I think it's biblical. It says, "From those to whom much is given, much will be expected." So
Wow, that's a good one.
it's
Yeah.
a good one.
Well, I'm going to have one more question
Okay.
for you. This, you know, I ask everybody, all the interview I do, I ask the interviewees this question. If you could go back in time, would you follow the same artistic path?
No,
Oh,
I would want to be born to a filthy rich family and just have what do you call it, a golden platter handed to me, and I would be, no, I don't see how I could do it otherwise. I mean,
it's unique. You have a very unique.
well, my dad was also an artist,
Oh, I didn't
but
know.
he worked for McDonnell Aircraft as an engineer.
Oh,
Because you couldn't make a living as an artist, you know.
right.
So, and he had, 6 kids. So
Hmm.
the idea is that being an artist would be, no, you couldn't make a living. At any rate, I've had so much good luck. I couldn't ask for any better luck, you know. And I'm still, pardon me. I want to just say that Bob Castley was the single most significant artistic boost in my life.
And Bob was started at St. Louis, City
museums.
Museum.
Yeah. So he and I met at Fontbonne College, and neither one of us could get arrested in the art world. we were just outsiders.
Yeah.
So at any rate, Bob got an idea and built City Museum, and incredible stuff. Yeah. And so I got to be part of Bob's big project, and that was about as lucky as you could hope to be. And so I think that he really inspired the shit out of me and made me think big. And that's one of the. I had a quote that pertained to that too.
All right. Yeah.
Well, I always like to give quotes because it makes me sound more intelligent.
Let's hear it.
It's kind of, I think a lot about my friends who are struggling in life. I mean, everybody struggles once you get old because your health goes down.
Yeah.
Like Stan Jones, his wife had, memory problems. Everybody's going to face.
Sure. Yeah.
But, and then the thing is you also are given a certain, I don't know what you call it, unique talents, or special gifts, they used to measure intelligence only with math and verbal skills. Now they have new tests for intelligence. Musical intelligence is a recognized one. Empathy is another one. So now they can measure a human IQ type potential, not just verbal and math.
I see.
So you might appear to be a kind of a dumb shit, but all of a sudden you got a musical gift to go,
that's me.
Yeah. So I've drifted off your question completely.
No. I think you would follow the same path.
Yeah, I would follow the same path because I've just been, I'm looking forward to the rest of it, and the thing is, this quote may or may not be apropos, but it's from Robert Browning, the poet, who everyone was probably forced to read in high school.
Yes.
But it's a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what is a heaven for? Now, today you have to say a man or a woman. A woman's reach should exceed her grasp, or what's a heaven for? It's like, it is good to reach for more.
You should always strive.
Right, yeah.
And you definitely do that.
And the thing is, I want to make everybody love art and music as much as I do.
Wow.
And my kids all do. So I was able to,
what
do you call it? Influence them just because I always had art and music going
that's
on.
Who you were too.
Going on, yeah. And they all love art and music.
Wow.
And I know other people who don't like art and don't like music, and I can't understand that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I've always liked music and I've always liked art, and even if it's bad art, it doesn't matter. Right. Then I know my reference point. So
and you always need things to complain about too. So bad music and bad art.
Yes. Bill.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It was painless.
Oh, good. Well, that's what we hope.
I didn't say it was enjoyable.
Oh, okay.
I said it was painless.
Painless. Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave you with something that you have inscribed.
Okay.
And it's and it really kind of got to me. And it says, "Beauty and truth will save the world." And thank you for saying that, Bill. Thank you so much for showing up, and really appreciate it. You're kind of inspire a lot of people.
Thanks.
So continue, and I know you will.
Thank you.
And we will talk soon.
Okay.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ear-Wicker podcast. And remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next gig.